Hello, dear students. Let me introduce myself firstly. My name is Saidova. The topic which we are going to discuss today is spontaneous speaking or an impromptu speech and its tips. Speaking skills. What is the speaking skills? Speaking skills is the most important skill all of the 4 skills, reading, listening, and writing skills. Now we will speak about spontaneous speaking. What is spontaneous speaking? Spontaneous speaking or impromptu speech by the nature are hard to practice for. You don't know what the topic will be or the type of audience you will be facing. However, virtual reality gives you an opportunity to practice this speech in a realistic environment. An impromptu speech is given with a little no preparation, yet almost always with some advanced knowledge of the topic. This is sometimes referred to as off the cuff or the spur of the moment. For example, in class, teacher may ask a student to give a short impromptu speech about the topic that was in the assigned reading. Business meetings may also start with everyone talking briefly about what they have done recently on the project. In small informal meetings, the audience will interrupt an impromptu speech and ask questions, which helps guide the speech and the information that is presented. So when campaigning, politicians sometimes respond or vote almost anywhere and anytime. Comedians are well known for the impromptu replies or hecklers, which are sometimes planned but usually made up on the spot. So we will speak now characteristic of spoken language, spontaneity. In most situations, people do not plan ahead of time what they are going to say. The fact that speech is spontaneous means that it is full of false starts, repetitions, incomplete sentences, and short phrases. Should we expect the students to produce complete sentences in language classroom? So spontaneous process is the main objectives of spontaneous process are spontaneous reaction and non-spontaneous reaction. What is spontaneous reaction? It is a reaction that does occur under specific conditions. Non-spontaneous reaction. A reaction does not occur under specific conditions. Impromptu speeches are delivered on the spur of the moment. You don't know the speech topic or requirements ahead of time. For example, you might be at a meeting and suddenly asked to present about a conference you attended. Or maybe you are asked to speak about your teammates at the pub rally. So, impromptu, the speaker is given no time to prepare for a speech, as I mentioned about. He or she is given a topic and must immediately begin speaking on it. This speaking style involves thinking on one's feet and being able to plan the flow of the speech as the speaker is giving it. So what's the difference between prepared speech and non-prepared, impromptu, or spontaneous speech? The most common type of speech is a prepared speech. For prepared speech, the speaker has been given the topic in advance, had time to do background research on it, and has practiced delivering the speech. And preparation does not necessarily mean memorizing every word. In prepared speech, words are not just learned by heart. It should be just read more and more and keep in memory, not all of the words. Just you should keep in your mind just key words. And impromptu speaking, different from prepared speech, impromptu speeches are presented with little or no preparation, as I mentioned above. There are 4 steps to organize your thoughts quickly. The first is state the point, question to which you are responding. The second is state the point you want to make. The third, use whatever support you have, examples, statistics, and testimony. And the fourth one, summarizing your point. Now, during the lessons or during some trainings, when you just train impromptu speech, the teacher gives you speech cards. It can include the topic, for example, the whole point of games is to win. Winter is better than summer. How to choose friends. And the word sandwich, for example, the scariest ride of my life, my new rules for school, and like this. So the man, look at the man. He's speaking in audience. What do you think? Is his speech prepared speech or impromptu speech? If it is a planned meeting, it can be just a prepared speech. If it is the marriage or some sudden meetings, it can be an impromptu speech. Well, look at this man. He is very shy. The people are laughing at him. Why? Because his speech is not ready. He was welcome to speak an impromptu speech. So now we will speak about some tips of an impromptu speech. If we speak about the tips, there are 12 main tips for an impromptu speech. The first is a good speech has a structure. What does it mean? F-A-T. It is a fact structure. F means feeling. A means anecdote or a related story. And T is tie back. The second tip is you should practice your speech beforehand. Practicing the speech beforehand. One way to practice an impromptu speech is an impromptu speech game. There are some games which make us prepare for an impromptu speech. The third one is make as many speeches as possible. You should train on yourself for an impromptu speech. The more stage experience you gain, the better you will be able to handle different situations. This experience will be handy while making an impromptu speech. So, next one is the fourth one, believe that you are a better speaker than you think you are. You should believe in yourself, then your listener will believe you. Remember that if you do not believe in yourself, why should I as a listener? Yeah, if you don't believe in yourself, I will not listen to you. Also, 99.9% of the time, the listeners are your allies and not your enemies. So the fifth tip is you should tell them that you are not prepared for this speech. Do it in a brief and professional manner and avoid futile apologize. The sixth one, humor is always a good icebreaker. You should have a sense of humor. Using humor, you create a connection with your audience and they are paying attention to you. You can attract them with your humor. 7 is starting with the story. If you're not ready for speaking, just start your speech with some interesting story. Make a point, tell a story, even better in the story if the story is funny. 8 one is if you get stuck, pretend it's a meaningful pause. Most people will not even realize there is something going on. So ninth one is adjusting the topic and change for the focus a bit. If the subject is something you don't know much about, you will adjust it a little and change the focus, talking about it from a perspective you feel more confident about. The tenth is the easiest way is to answer to these questions during a speech: who you are, what or about what, when, where, what. It's essentially the same as a thread structure, but explained from another angle. So the 11th tip is turn your presentation into a question and answer session. This way you'll get hints from the listeners about what you could talk about, and you can smoothly go over to your speech. So 12th is the last one, is keeping it short. Don't blab all the time. And remember, no one has ever complained about the speech being too short. Today we talked about spontaneous speaking, impromptu speech, characteristics of impromptu speech. We spoke about prepared speech, non-prepared speech, and we spoke about 12 tips of impromptu speech. For the next video, we will discuss the spontaneous speaking, truth and lies. See you, dear students.